Optimal resource utilization, land surveying and planning, water use and irrigation. Objectives of the lesson. At the end of the lesson you should be able to know the following. Optimal resource utilization. Soil surveys and planning. The concept, soil survey. The purpose, objectives and principles of a soil survey. The soil uptake process in agriculture and steps followed during a soil mapping. Precision farming. The concept, precision farming. The basic principles/objectives of precision farming. The state-of-the-art technologies used in precision farming. Water consumption. The terminology, irrigation, irrigation schedule. The main sources of water for irrigation. The criteria for determining the water quality for irrigation. The irrigation systems, advantages, disadvantages and conditions of use. Flood irrigation/pre and combination irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation/pivot point and drip irrigation/micro irrigation. The reasons or benefits of irrigation scheduling. The use of the following instruments to determine the water content of soils. Class A evaporation team, tensiometer and neutron moisture meter. Introduction. Previous content covered in Grade 10, Term 2 must be linked to the current content. Sustainable natural resources. The purpose of the following lesson is to discuss and understand the following content: optimal resource utilization, land surveying and planning, precision farming, water use. Concepts and skills. Optimal resource utilization, land surveying and planning, precision farming, water use. New terms for this week. Topographic, how the physical properties of an area are arranged. Reservoir, artificial lake or dam used where water is stored. Water infiltration rate, the rate at which irrigation water enters the soil. Rust, an electrolyte process that attacks metal surfaces and causes them to decompose. Active root zone, maximum depth that usually needs to be watered by irrigation zone. Containing the most plant roots. Calibrate, to set an instrument compared to a standard to determine the accuracy of that instrument. Ground surveys and planning. What is soil analysis? Soil surveys are conducted to determine whether land is suitable for agricultural or non-agricultural purposes. Different factors are taken into account when doing a soil survey. The physical, chemical and biological soil for crop or animal production practice is ideal for a specific region. Land is mapped to provide data on the types of land found in an area. Once the soil types have been identified, a map is drawn to indicate the boundary lines that divide the different soil types into different areas. The farmer can then use the data captured on the map to make an informed decision about what kind of plant or animal would be most suitable on that soil type. Sectors, topography and climate are used to determine what physical characteristics the soil has. The purpose of soil analysis. Describe the properties of the soil in a given area. Classify the land according to a standard classification system. Draw the boundaries of the land on a map. Make predictions about the reaction of soil. To help draw up plans that will make it possible to use land efficiently. Steps in the soil survey process. Ground inspection. The inspection process involves an examination of 4 soil aspects. Soil erosion on the farm. Stones in the ground. Texture of the soil. Depth of soil. Soil erosion. Soil erosion occurs when soil is removed by water or wind. Therefore, the soil may not provide enough nutrients. These are signs of soil erosion. Footpaths. Bare ground. Unknown plant roots. Rocky areas. Dust storms. Mud in water body carriers. Stones in the ground. Farmers need to check soil for stones. Land that is too rocky may not be suitable for agricultural use. Texture of the soil. All plants grow better in soil with a specific texture. Depth of soil. The depth of the soil refers to the amount of soil above the hard, rocky layer. Some plants are more suitable for shallow soil types, while others thrive in deeper soil. In general, a depth of 1 meter is best. Physical analysis. There are 3 steps in the physical analysis process. Digging profile hole. Determination of soil profile. Determination of physical and chemical properties. Precision farming. Definition of precision farming. Precision farming uses computers, global satellite positioning systems and remote sensor devices to measure the correct environmental conditions and to determine if crops are growing with maximum efficiency. Precision farming provides information with fine detail. Any problems that may arise, for example hail, drought and the outbreak of pests, can be identified and the farmer is then able to take precautions. The technology used provides farm managers with highly sophisticated and precise information. The main objective is to maximize output, crop yields, while minimizing inputs, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, etc. by monitoring environmental variables and applying targeted action. Precision farming also helps reduce agricultural waste and minimize environmental pollution. Objectives of precision farming. Farmers who focus on precision farming are usually those who are trying to make an effort to become more sustainable. They are likely to apply fertilizer according to leaf and soil samples. Precision farming practices can reduce the need for nutrients and other crop inputs, while promoting yields. This way, farmers can save on the cost of fertilization. The idea is to try to apply the right amount of input at the right time and in the right place. This benefits the soil and groundwater and thus the entire harvest cycle. Precision farming is considered the cornerstone of sustainable agriculture, and it maintains a balance between input cost and production outputs. Modern technology in precision farming. Farming can be divided into 4 steps. Collect information. New information and communication technologies make sustainable crop management more functional and easier for farmers. Precision agriculture uses the following special equipment on tractors. Geographic Positioning System, GPS, to determine the exact position on the globe. And Geographic Information System, GIS, which makes sense of all available data. The Geographic Information Systems, GIS, computers capture and manage special data related to crop production and field inputs and analyze this data. Analyze the information. The information gathered in the first step should be evaluated to assess whether the data reflects long-term trends, whether they are consistent, and to detect possible errors. The farmer needs at least 3 years of data. Make decisions based on the information analyzed. Decision-making support systems or models provide the farmer with information that affects his farming activities and help him decide how to get the best possible future yield. Implementation of these decisions. The farmer now has a proposed farming schedule for planting, fertilizing and plant protection for the next season. Water use. Terminology, irrigation and irrigation schedule. Farms use water as drinking water for animals, for watering crops and orchards, and for cleaning, cooling, dust suppression and sewage removal. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to land or fields. A farmer uses an irrigation schedule as a management tool to determine the right frequency and amount of water to get a crop. Sources of irrigation water. There are 3 water sources: groundwater, surface water, and non-conventional water. Sources. Groundwater refers to water that is deep underground, such as fountains and boreholes. Surface water. Water that runs above the ground, for example water in rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. Unconventional water sources includes treated wastewater, desalinated water, and drainage water that can be used for agricultural purposes. Water quality criteria for irrigation. Salinity. Water infiltration. Specific ionic toxicity. Excess nutrients. Dilapidation. Mineral content. Irrigation system. The irrigation system's advantages and disadvantages and conditions of use. Flood irrigation. Flood irrigation is one of the oldest irrigation methods in the world. Using this system, the entire surface of the soil comes under water. Flood irrigation is not very efficient as the evaporation levels are high. The uneven distribution of water over the cultivated beds also makes the absorption of water in the soil uneven. The flood irrigation method can only be applied where the slope is equal, when water is plentiful and cheap, when a strong stream of water is available. Comb irrigation. Bowl irrigation is usually used in orchards. A shallow bowl is made around each plant stem. The size of the bowl is determined by the water requirements of the tree. Benefits of flood irrigation. Little labor is required. It is cheap. A reasonable amount of water is applied in a short period of time. If salt water is used, its effect is not as harmful as it would be if overhead irrigation is used. Water can be measured accurately. The energy requirements are low. Disadvantages of flood irrigation. More water is applied than the soil really needs. Waterlogging and bracking can occur. Over-irrigation takes place at the top and bottom of the culverts. It is not suitable for weed control, pest control or the application of fertilizers. Sprinkler irrigation. With sprinkler irrigation, water under pressure is forced through a rotary sprayer so that it reaches the soil surface in the form of separate droplets. Sprinkler irrigation is used where the workforce is limited, where different parts of the soil have different infiltration rates, where the land is uneven and it is not economical to level the land, when the flow of water is too small for flood irrigation, where the soil is too porous for flood irrigation, when the even distribution of water is very important. Benefits of sprinkler irrigation. Little labor required. No water is lost due to seepage. Water is measured accurately. It is possible to irrigate soil that is uneven. Water is applied evenly. Disadvantages of sprinkler irrigation. When the wind blows, the water is unevenly distributed. On hot days, a lot of water is lost due to evaporation. Brackish water cannot be used because it will damage the leaves of crops. The surface compacts with unstable soil. Energy consumption is high. Micro irrigation. Micro sprayers are mounted at specific locations on the distribution line to the plant. The water is distributed as a drizzle. A larger area is moistened. Micro syringes are lifted by extension pipes to the desired level. Micro irrigation can be used in any area, on any soil or crop and at any climate. Combination. Benefits of micro irrigation. Less water is used due to the smaller area being wetted. Less energy is needed to distribute water. The growth of weeds is limited because smaller areas are watered. Fertilizers, insecticides and herbicides can be added to the irrigation water. Little labor is required. It is possible to wet shallow soil with a low water capacity. This system can be used where water is scarce. Brackish soil can be irrigated and brackish water can be used. Soil on steep slopes can be irrigated. Soil with very high or very low infiltration rates can be irrigated. Water is applied directly to crops that are far apart and the surrounding soil remains dry. Disadvantages of micro-irrigation. Drip irrigation can cause crust to form and this affects the physical properties of soil. For example, the structure and water uptake. When the water pressure is very high, a lot of water is lost due to evaporation because very small droplets can evaporate quickly. Topographic differences can affect the distribution of water by drip irrigation as relatively low pressures are used to transport water. There is not enough pressure to transport water up a hill. The capital outlay is high. Drips and micro syringes are clogged and must therefore be monitored continuously. On sandy soils, seepage can take place with drip irrigation. Benefits of irrigation scheduling. Irrigation scheduling is a program set up to apply water at specific times and in specific amounts. It is used to make irrigation economical and ensure optimal production. Farmers who irrigate extensively usually find that the energy needed to power the system is one of the biggest expenses. With proper scheduling, a farmer can save electricity and reduce the amount of nutrients that leach out. This is better for the environment as fewer fertilizers are needed, which means there is A smaller chance of contamination. The main objective is to apply enough water to completely wet the plant's root zones. Tools for determining soil moisture content. Class A evaporation team. A Class A evaporation pan is a special flat container filled with water. It has a fixed size and is used to measure the rate of water loss. By multiplying the rate of water loss from the container by a conversion factor, the water loss of a crop can be determined. The farmer uses these figures to calculate the irrigation requirements. The reading on the evaporation pan is in mm and is multiplied by a crop factor. Evapotranspiration equals evaporation from pan x Toomer factor. ET equals 0xf. Voltmeter, tensiometer. A tensiometer is a very useful device for measuring soil moisture stress. It consists of an airtight perspex tube. The length of the tube varies according to whether it is used in surface or subsoil. At the longer end of the tube is a porous ceramic tip. At the top is a vacuum gauge. The whole tube is filled with water. When farmers place a tensiometer in the soil, they should make sure that there is close contact between the soil and the porous tip. Water moves through the porous tip between the tube and the ground. In this way, a vacuum is created in the tube. A reading will be indicated on the vacuum gauge. The drier the soil, the greater the movement of water from the tube to the soil and the higher the vacuum reading on the meter. The meter is marked from 0 to 100 kilopascals. When it rains or when the soil is irrigated, water moves out of the soil through the ceramic tip into the tube and the reading on the tensiometer drops. Neutron moisture meter. A neutron moisture meter is one of the most accurate tools available to measure the amount of moisture in the soil. This tool is based on the principle that fast neutrons slow down through the distribution of hydrogen nuclei. A neutron moisture meter must be calibrated to measure the actual groundwater content of a specific soil type. The groundwater levels for a specific soil type are related to the neutron bird readings at similar soil depth layers. Activities/assessment. Learners can also use the following sources of information to do activities. Relevant Grade 11 textbooks. Grade November 11th exam papers from previous years. Consolidation. The lesson deals with the content as set out in the CAPS document. Learners who understand the content must apply the necessary knowledge and skills to answer questions. Learners are able to use the knowledge and skills as a good basis for progressing to the next topic. Soil drainage system.
Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more future educational videos.